Oh. Welcome to another video. Today I wanted to try something a little bit different. You know, the channel's new. I'm still kind of getting a feel on what people are into and you know, what kind of stuff I want to put out that folks might enjoy. And one thing I really love about this hobby and collecting and all that is making cool setup displays and posing my figures. So what I wanted to do today is show a little bit of what goes into that when I do that sort of thing. This is all stuff that was kind of cobbled together out of just things I had laying around. I think these were, I want to say from like a Diamond Select figure or something. I don't know exactly. I mean, they might have been, yeah, it's a Marvel. It's got a Marvel, like, you know, copyright stamp on it. These have pegs here, and then there's like what looks to be an insert for a 6 scale figure. So this might have come with like a used hot toy I bought or something. I have 2 of them. I feel like they were probably for a Diamond Select figure. They've got these things that look like maybe you can clasp them together with another one. I don't know exactly, but I had them in my sort of bin of stuff that I use for, you know, stands and whatnot. And then I bought these. I think these were also probably Marvel Select. I got them in a set on Mercari like a year ago. They've been serving as a backdrop for my custom movie X-Men. And I started collecting the Mezco comic book Jim Lee style X-Men. I had the Cyclops, but I used it for a custom movie style Cyclops. And then I had Gambit just because it was a great figure. And that kind of led me to wanting to build the team up a little bit. So I took these, and this had, you can see where I cut, it had like 2 little tabs that stuck out about, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch or something. And so I cut them, and that made them fit these pretty perfectly. So they just kind of slide right in there. Now the issue I was running into is that this is, you know, you can see there's this gap in the middle. Well, I had this painted foam board that I used. I have a matrix display with my custom Mezco matrix figures that I made. And these served as a pillar that I, you know, for the lobby scene that I didn't end up using for the display. So I cut it in half. And if I stick it right down the middle like this, it's just about right. These can be offset a little bit because, you know, the gate's going to be looking like it's open anyway. So this is going to serve as my base. Now, I will eventually join these. I'll probably, you know, tape the underside or something just to keep them together, but they're going to sit on a shelf like this, so it ends up working pretty well for my purposes. So far I've got Cyclops, Gambit, and I have Magneto that I haven't opened yet. I've got Cyclops and Gambit posed up, and you know, I want them to look like they're in action. Mezco does these great portraits, these face sculpts where, you know, you've got Cyclops yelling, and you know, he's got the fingers to the visor there to activate it. So you know, he doesn't have a ton of articulation in the head and neck area because his neck has like a light up feature in it. So it hinders the articulation. But I got him in a pretty cool pose, and his foot fits on this little peg. It doesn't fill the hole all the way, but it's enough to keep him upright. So we've got Cyclops squared away here. What I think I'm going to do though, and what I need to do with Gambit, the Mezco stands come with these little pegs in them, and they're much larger than what is on whatever this base piece is. So I think what I'm going to do, the Mezco stands, like the pegs that come in them are removable because you can swap them out with the articulated arm. So I think what I'm going to do is drill some holes and stick the pegs in to this base so that I can actually have them standing in a permanent way. But if this thing is going to live here, for example, on this countertop, I can have Gambit kind of stepping off the front of this thing, and it'll actually work pretty well. So that's 2 of them down. For Magneto, because he's a character that can fly, levitate, what have you, I think I am going to drill a hole into this and mount his articulation stand. And then that way I can have him floating above them. One thing I like to do is try to have levels to a display, right? Or a figure setup. So we've got Magneto who can hover, levitate, fly, etc. So he's going to be higher up. We've got Gambit in a little bit more of a kind of not quite crouched position, but you know, he's sort of bending at the waist. When I get my Wolverine, I'm going to have him in more of a crouched you know, kind of bent over, you know, fists and claws out type of position. So he'll go here, and that might mean that I move Cyclops over a bit, which means I'll need to drill a peg in so that he has somewhere to stand. So I'm going to go ahead and get the drill out, figure out where I'm going to put Magneto, and then, you know, we'll get him as part of the setup. I love the smell of a new Mezco. Ooh. You've lost your head, Magneto. You should have killed me when you had the chance, Charles. Okay, so here's what the articulating arm looks like that comes with the Mezco figure. And they have really good tension in these joints. And you can tighten them. Like, this one's actually a little bit loose, so I might have to take a little screwdriver to that. And then the base piece looks like this. So, you know, it's a pretty good sized peg. And I want this to be somewhat hidden. So in this display, putting it somewhere here would probably be helpful. You know, it may be the kind of thing where it might actually stick out like that a little bit. I want it to be out of the way and as invisible as possible, because obviously it just looks cooler if he's floating. But I think somewhere right about here is going to be good. We're going to give that a try. We're going to drill right here, tighten this middle joint up, and then we'll make a hole for Cyclops as well. All right, so got my drill bit here. What I do is I just match them up to the peg and see what fits. So that one's got a pretty good match. This is 15/64. What a fraction. I guess it's not, you can't reduce that one. I love that as a fraction. Like, you'll never use that ever. Like, in, you know, about 15/64 of the time, you know. And we're through. Alright, so the hole's a little small, but I think, there we go. And we're going to get Magneto up in here. Now, I know Magneto is the villain, but, like, you know, maybe they're fighting human bad guys that are united in a front against the mutants. That's kind of the story I'm telling myself here. That's one thing I like to do when I'm doing a setup, is I like to kind of, like, have a little story to it. So that's kind of the one I told myself here. Alright, so he's going to need a peg just to stay standing. That's next up. We're going to drill a peg hole, and thankfully it's the same hole size, so 15/64. So I'll do that real quick here. Who's your favorite X-Man? Mine's Cyclops. I know that's not a popular opinion, but I always liked him the most. I've always liked the goody two-shoe leadery type. Superman's always been my guy, and Cyclops was kind of like brown-haired Superman with the heat vision and the, you know, I know it's an optic blast, but to little me it was a, you know, heat vision analog pretty much. Just knocking stuff over here. Thankfully nothing broke. That's pretty common when you're doing something like this, for like everything to topple. Alright, this may be sacrilege to some people, but I had a spare Star Trek. This is from a Captain Kirk Mezco figure that I bought for parts. That was before you could get Mix Max bodies and all those other ones. Now, you know, you don't have to buy a whole figure just to have one as a base. So this had this little yellow guy, and that's how these peg in. So you can either have this or that go into the hole, which is pretty cool. I like how they do that. The bases are a little big, though. That's why I don't really use them. It's hard to fit a lot of them on a shelf together. But the cool thing is, this is like the same color as Cyclops' boot, so felt like it was meant to be there. Bada boom. He's on there. He's standing. So that's looking pretty cool already. I'm excited to fill this space with Wolverine here. You know, he'll be kind of crouched over, like I said, so that should go nicely. And then I may get a Cable. I was a child of the X-Men cartoon in the 90s, so I'm kind of sticking with that lineup. I'll probably try to track down a Bishop when that comes out, just because, you know, I don't have enough diversity in my collections. It's really hard to achieve that because the companies don't make a lot of like black and non-white characters, you know, so I think that'll just make it look more dynamic. But yeah, I think this is looking pretty cool. And, you know, I was talking about the kind of staging of it. You've got, you know, levels to it, which I think really helps for a dynamic setup. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with this. I'll try to include some shots of it at the end here so you can kind of see it from different angles. And I need to find a permanent home for it. Right now, this is the end of my workbench. But yeah, I just wanted to show everybody kind of how I approach setting up a display. It's my favorite part of all of this, is like figuring out a cool way to make these characters look. I'll probably end up tweaking Magneto a little bit you know, maybe kind of tilting him. It's fun to kind of have them all looking in different directions, because you can, that's sort of how you tell the story, right? It's like he's looking this way at something, Gambit's throwing something that way, Cyclops is shooting something that way. So, you know, it gives you the impression that like whatever is coming at them is coming at them from all sides. I always think it looks cool when a character's flying or floating to have their legs as close together as possible, because it just kind of doesn't look like they're standing in the air. It's like a pose that only works if you're flying. Anyway, I'm eventually going to be doing a collection tour. I'm rearranging my shelves to accommodate some of the vehicles I've been customizing and getting and stuff. So that's going to do it for this video. I'm going to have part 4 of my Tumblr Batmobile build up here pretty soon as well, so stay tuned for that. If you want to check out my other customs, they're on my Instagram, which is linked below. I've got a new graphic novel out called RETROACTIVE. It's like a time travel spy thriller. Think James Bond meets Groundhog Day. So I'll have a link for that in the bottom of the show notes as well. Until next time, keep your head on swivel.